All right, everyone, it is time for Supreme Court updates. Unfortunately, no Roe v. Wade, no concealed carry, no EPA decision either, but we do have one of the four major cases. I was hoping that there would be two today. I was hoping there would be a little bit more meat on those bones. There's only one decision. This is a Maine-based case, actually. Let me pull up the actual docket. No link in the description at the moment. Let me get the Supreme Court docket. Boom, Supreme Court of the United States. Building closed to the public until further notice, basically for the rest of time, I would imagine. Today was an opinion day. We got some other ones. We got a Marietta Memorial Hospital Employee Health Benefit Plan versus DaVita Incorporated. The Medicare secondary payer statute does not authorize disparate impact liability, and the Marietta plan's coverage terms for outpatient dialysis do not violate 42 USC 1395Y B1C because those terms apply uniformly to all covered individuals. Yeah, it's Greek to me. United States versus Taylor. Attempted Hobbs Act robbery does not qualify as a crime of violence under 18 USC 924 C3A. Because no element of the offense requires proof that the defendant used, attempted to use, or threatened to use force. This actually it's semi-meaningful. The basic gist of it is that in the context of using a deadly weapon, I believe during a robbery, the federal government can't levy an additional 10 potential years on the charge. Well, it's a pro-liberty decision anyway. U.S. versus Washington. Washington workers' compensation law is unconstitutional under the Supremacy Clause because it facially discriminates against the federal government and does not fall within the scope of the federal waiver of immunity contained in 40 U.S.C. 3172. SHIB versus Twyford. Very interesting last name, by the way. A transportation order that allows a prisoner to search for new evidence, in this case, an order compelling the state to transport Mr. Twyford to a medical facility for neurological testing is not necessary or appropriate in aid of a federal court's adjudication of habeas corpus action when the prisoner has not shown that the desired evidence would be admissible in connection with the particular claim for relief. Again, it's Greek to 99% of us. Get Rakita Law in here. He can analyze it. But here's the decision that we need to go into. Carson versus Makin. This is one of the four big ones that I was talking about for some days and that I wanted to cover when the decision actually came in. This has to do with religious schooling and vouchers and the extremely, extremely rural character of Maine. Place I've been, Old Orchard Beach, not bad. Part of actual New England, which is only Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. There are no other states in New England. The mass holes do not count. You are flatlanders. I say this semi-jokingly. Anyway, the basic gist of this case is here in Carson versus Makin. The idea was that there were parents that wanted to use school vouchers for schools that were technically religious in nature but offering a secular curriculum. And the state didn't want them to do that. Of course, they're saying, hey, under the First Amendment, this is unconstitutional. We can't give you such money because this is a religious school. And what Scotus found, 6-3, and this is something that I didn't even bother to guess on what the outcome would be because you can really argue it either way. And the dissent really shows that it's a very, very double-edged sword here. What they found is that, yes, indeed, these students are due those vouchers. There are effectively some schools in the area that are pseudo-religious. It's named after a saint or something, but it's got a secular curriculum, and they can use the vouchers to go to those schools. The problem is in some rural parts of the country, and I'll get into this, there may not be another school that is strictly secular that is actually readily available to those students. I would have thought this was an equal protection issue, not just a First Amendment issue, but we'll go through the basic gist of that. Because that is the crux of this video. I was hoping for concealed carry to be decided. I expect that to be a 6-3 in favor of concealed carry. Whether it's constitutional carry or shall issue remains to be seen. So we'll wait and see on that. Probably Thursday. That's the next decision day. After that, you're getting kind of sparse. You got 13 more decisions to make with an average of 5 each day. And you've got one other day within this month for actual decisions to be made. At least one of the major decisions, I think, comes in then. The three ones we're looking at now, we'll talk about Carson versus Makin now. The other three, the EPA case, does the government have broad sweeping authority with regards to regulation of emissions, or does it not? The general consensus is probably they rule against the government's regulatory capabilities and partially defang the EPA. I support that concept, by the way. Roe v. Wade, that's the biggest one. I doubt we'll get it on Thursday. They'll probably kick the can into July. That's the biggest one. I have a feeling that Roe v. Wade will be struck down. As far as the concealed carry decision, I think they'll uphold constitutional carry or shall issue. I don't really worry about that. I think that one of those two will be the definition. My worry is that if they don't uphold constitutional carry, that is, they go more narrow, the problem is that you will end up with a future court case as those blue states, New York and New Jersey specifically. There are a couple of others that do this. They will simply raise the price of their concealed carry permitting process. So instead of having to pay $50 to apply, it'll be $500. And then someone who's poor will say, hey, that's more than the cost of the firearm that I just bought. What gives? And then they'll have to have a whole fucking different case. So we'll get to some super chats, and then we'll get to the crux of the case at large. Adam THM, hey Sticks, can you do a video on the Pritzker family and all the money they donate to weird trans and sexual ideologies? It's weird and should be known. I haven't heard anything about that. I'll have to look into it, but thank you for the tip. And we will as well get to some Twitch chats. Don't worry. Oh, are we live on Rumble, by the way? I always have to check. Let's make sure that's actually a thing. Never underestimate my capability to screw up the stream key. Are we live? There are people watching, so I'm assuming yes. Yes, we're live on Rumble. Okay. Go down to chat, make sure that we can see that. Ilhitu, did you see the Atlantic article, The Heroism of Biden's Fall? No, I haven't, but I can imagine that it's cringy. Stephen 13, did you see the Colombian election? Somehow the leftoid won. The wokeoids are celebrating. Yes, I had somebody earlier, actually on Twitch, saying this is more evidence the Hispanics are going to vote as a leftoid voting bloc. And I tried to point out, okay, a socialist narrowly won the election by less than 5 points. They don't have legislative support, which means there's an uphill battle to actually do anything. This is not a bellwether of Latin America reverting back into the socialism thing, although parts of it have. Venezuela and Nicaragua exist. Chile exists. It's not good to have a socialist running Colombia because that means Colombia will become more screwed up. But it is a very narrow victory. This is not the sort of thing. It's not like a 60-40. It's not even a 55-45 sort of deal. And you don't have legislative support, which means that in theory, unless you want to go full tin horn, which could happen, nothing will be done. There will be no additional socialism in the country. I suggest the Colombian people take to the streets, refuse to acknowledge the legitimacy of a communist dictatorship, and encourage the legislature not to vote in favor of anything that the socialist does. Gorgeous Mayhem. It's obvious Dems will have to switch what their party stands for, or they won't be able to win elections. What do you think that it will look like? My hope, and this I say as a non-Republican. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a Republican. My hope is they get crippled in the midterms and finally do that long overdue soul searching that I've been talking about since 2012. You need to revert. You need to kick the commies out of your party and realize that they're dead weight. Hillary Clinton set the groundwork for that, by the way, the other day. John Marafa, this masshole laughs with you. Yeah. Overdeveloped sense of humor. Cold Warrior, massholes representing hard right here. What part of Canada is Vermont? I forget. It's southern Canada with better maple syrup. That's basically it. Fire down below. Although Jimmy Dore is a leftoid, he has done more to debunk the Russiagate narrative than any other content creator I've watched. I respect him. Keep in mind, broken clock applies to leftoids. Stephen McIntyre, you see Alex Stein call out Crenshaw and Cruz. No, I haven't, but that would be funny. Adam THM, Disclosed TV posted the Pritzker stuff, just an FYI. By the way, let me go back to the Supreme Court page, just in case there is any extra decision. Let's see. Yeah, I guess I think that is the last decision for the day. Let me check their expanded page here. Carson versus Makin. Yeah, that is the last decision for the day. I was hoping for more. Unfortunately, we don't get any more, but we did get one major decision, so let's be thankful. Roberts Court has been dragging its heels. Make sure everything's lined up here. Let's see. We got over 100 people watching on Rumble and nobody's commenting. What's wrong with you? Cat got your tongue? This will be a fairly short stream, by the way, probably about 40 minutes. Just to be clear, this is a major decision, but it's the least of the major decisions. I was really hoping for concealed carry. I know that a lot of you are chomping at the bit for the same, and some people are black-pilled and saying, well, the Supreme Court will just they'll punt the issue. They won't enable constitutional carry. I think you're more likely to get constitutional carry nationwide than to get any smackdown of the ability for people to concealed carry. I think, unfortunately, you're likely to get shall issue. Again, the blue states will kick this can down the road and simply raise prices. I'm hopeful, though. I'm optimistic. I may be wrong. We'll see. Matthew Hammond, Alex Stein called Dan Crenshaw eye patch McCain while trying to get a comment from him, a nickname that has never been more accurate. Absolutely. Graf von Tirol, Lightyear failing satisfies my sense of schadenfreude. To hell with Disney. It didn't technically fail. It's just that the consensus was it would gain a lot more money. It still made, what was it, $58 million or something? And they had a lesbian kiss in it. Who cares? I don't know. I don't care about what Pixar does. I don't care about animated characters and what they get up to because they're not even real people. I think the real thing is that the original voice of Buzz Lightyear was shafted, and that's the reason why they're making less money. Totes McPreach sent 20 Canadian dollars. Thank you very much. No comment. Music and fiction. Depends on number of rulings left. Second Amendment, Roe v. Wade, likely on 6/27. Oh, 6/27 is an opinion day. Just a second here. Yeah, that's the next Monday. I didn't know that was an opinion day, actually. Yeah, we're going to get some in a couple of days. My hope is that we get at least one more major. But we will get right into the major case that we do actually have now. Again, this is Carson versus Makin. Let me explain it in a nutshell. And this is why it's a major case, because of the First Amendment ramifications. The basic premise is that in rural Maine, you have a lot of communities, and there are other ways that I would have argued this. I'll go through that as well, in which the school that is there is effectively technically religious. It's the St. Michael's School or something like that, the St. Judas Iscariot School. It is technically a religious edifice, but it teaches a secular curriculum. That is, that it's not trying to train you to be a priest. It's not trying to train you to be a pastor. It is effectively nothing more than a regular everyday school. It teaches math. It teaches science. Probably teaches less of the woke shit, so it's probably superior to its secular alternatives. Let me ask this. You move to rural Maine, middle of nowhere, swamps everywhere. Stephen King is dressing as a werewolf and howling outside your window at night. Let me ask this. Let's say you're a parent, and you've got this voucher. You can send your student to any school that you want in the general region. The nearest fully secular school is an hour away, which can happen in a place like Maine. And parts of the state are very, very remote. This is also the case for most of the western states, parts of the South. It's not, maybe not in the New York City area, maybe not in the urban areas of the country, but outside of those, this can be a thing, even outside of small towns. You're in a rural area. Nearest fully secular school is an hour away. The nearest technically secular school, it's named after a saint or Martin Luther or something like that, but it's fundamentally secular in its curriculum, is 5 minutes away. Should you be compelled to use that voucher to transit your kid? There might be no bus service, by the way, an hour away when there's a closer alternative. Secondly, what's the problem with using that voucher in a technically religious school if the curriculum is not religious? That is, you're not training people to be priests and nuns or anything like that. You're simply giving them a normal education, and the school simply happens to be run by people with religious beliefs that are publicly available. The Supreme Court has ruled 6-3 in favor of the parents in this case. They can now use vouchers to send their kids to the technically religious schools. I did not give any sort of prediction with regards to this case. And the reason why is actually in the docket itself. The majority that sided with those parents is saying that Congress cannot make a law establishing any religion or negating the free exercise thereof, impeding, rather, the free exercise thereof. They're focusing on the latter, effectively, in their 6-3 decision, and saying, look, these schools are run by people who are ostensibly religious. However, the curriculum is not religious. They are not technically religious schools at all. It's not the Catholic University for Youth or anything like that. These are effectively secular schools that are chartered, that happen to have religious people running them. And so they've sided with that argument. The other side was just as formidable, which is, hey, they can't establish a religion. So you're effectively taking taxpayer money in voucher form, that is what it is, and sending people to schools that have religious overtones to them. I did not bother to try to predict how they would rule because of exactly what's in the docket, which is that the dissenters, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan, are pointing out the other side of the argument. They're focusing on the former part of the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Those in the majority are focusing on the latter part, or disparaging the free exercise thereof. Really, within one amendment, you've got these arguments. I would have focused, though, on equal protection. And this is why I support this decision. As someone who is not religious and would not send my own child to a school that had religious overtones, because I don't want them learning anything about religion from anyone but myself, of course. Comparative religion, not even indoctrinated into paganism either. Don't worry, Christians out there. As someone who is not a friend of organized religion, here's my thoughts. You have a situation in which students who are due those vouchers, insofar as you're going to have them through taxpayer money, they're living in a remote community. They may have to go an hour out of their way to go to the nearest truly secular school when they can just transit for 5 minutes. They can take a walk in the morning and get more exercise, something most kids could use these days, and go to a school that is technically kind of sort of religious because the people running it decided to call it St. Michael's. I don't understand why we would have a problem with them sending them to that school and using the voucher for that purpose in an area where there may not be a taxpayer-funded school at all. Again, there are remote parts of the country, and this is something that the penthouse dwellers and the McMansion types, they don't understand. Vast swaths of the United States are still quite rural. It's not just Maine. Most of the state, basically 2/3 of it, is extremely rural. It's swamps. Swamps and mountains. That's literally all that it is. And moose. Moose wanders through the play school yard once in a while. Vermont. There are plenty of areas in Vermont. Look at the Northeast Kingdom. They didn't even get anything beyond dial-up computer access until the last couple of years. They're living in the Stone Age. It's extremely rural, extremely remote, and the development there has been fairly swift. They put tech firms actually up there at this point, which is ironic considering the internet connectivity. But until fairly recently, it's a backwater. It's literally Redneckville. Much of Vermont is like that, and Vermont is a blue state. It's considered developed and hip, and hippies love it. New Hampshire. Look at any part of the United States. California. You go off into the hinterlands outside of the San Francisco, LA area or something, beyond Napa Valley into those mountains, it is extremely remote. What if your child needs to go to school And there's a voucher system that's been set up by the state. You're capable, you've got school choice. You can send them where you want. The nearest technically religious school is 5 minutes away. It's right down the road. It's in the old church house or the old town hall that's been repurposed. Or you can transit them for an hour and a half to the nearest fully secular school. Is it not a violation of your rights as a parent, your students' rights, and equal protection under the law, as well as, you know, according to this decision, elements of the First Amendment, to force them to go to the former school when another one is available much more readily? I don't have a problem with people going to a school in which the people that run it are ostensibly religious. And if you're going to use taxpayer money at all for these schooling systems, it makes absolutely no sense to disclude those schools from it. They are not clerical schools. They're not training kids to be priests. They're not training kids to be nuns. They simply have religious overtones. And if the school, by the way, were Islamic, or if it were Jewish, or if it were pagan for that matter, nobody would have a goddamn constitutional problem with it. It's only because these are Christian schools. And that's what you're really getting. I say this as someone who is against the organized religion known as churchianity. But let's face it, if it were anything other than Christianity, there wouldn't have been a court case to begin with. They would have found it self-evident that you can use money for them. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. Crenshaw is pro-gun control. He's in favor of more limited red flag laws. He wants to limit who can report and ways to fast-track the return of guns. Yeah, Crenshaw's a sellout. He's been exposed as a sellout. Absolutely. Zine the Despot, thoughts on Razorfist's recent video on Westerns, how they are culturally important and still relevant. I like some Westerns. Gunsmoke's a good series. Bonanza, by the way, hilarious at times. I always thought, I'll weigh in on this because, you know, we're just going to go off kilter anyway. With Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and similar series, especially in the 70s and the 80s, with Westerns and similar ones. I always liked the ones that were straight up comedy. I didn't really like the ones where there was much character development. I don't want to see drama and sadness and stuff. Oh, his girlfriend died of tuberculosis and stuff. Dude, the TV is meant for escapism insofar as you can watch it at all. These days, TV doesn't even exist anymore. It's all on the internet. They're going to scrub those old episodes for woke purposes. Jacob Skelton, $4.99, no comment. Thank you very much. Chad Donnerhun on YouTube. What's with the Coombot spam? Oh, yeah, there is someone spamming a bunch of sexual stuff here. Naked HD XYZ, OMG, fuck ads, sex, cheaper, Tinder, and a bunch of emojis. Just to be clear, that's probably a viral link, so you shouldn't take it. Sorry, scammer. Fuck yourself. Yeah, I'll go and fuck it. I'm not even going to bother banning you. People know better. I like to think my audience is intelligent enough not to take whatever link you're putting on there. Greentop LLC. Well, a lot of good a 20-minute late stream notification does. Wow, thanks, YouTube. Yeah, many such cases. Mr. Wonderful, I'm late. What? Scotus news. We got one of our major decisions. We did not get Roe v. Wade. That's going to be the big one. It may come in Thursday. It's more likely to come in next week, so I'm not going to hold my breath. Concealed carry is another one. That's going to be the second major decision and the one I care about most in my personal life. And then we have an EPA decision. The SCOTUS could defang the EPA. I think it'd be the greatest thing ever, but we'll see what happens. I'm hesitant but cautiously optimistic that in a limited decision, they will defang some of the EPA's regulatory activity. Be good for the economy. We could use that right now. The major decision today regards religious schooling, but not explicitly religious schooling, technically religious schooling. In Maine, which is a very rural state, most of you have never heard of it or been there. It's basically a bunch of swamps and Stephen King. That's basically what Maine is. In some cases, you have a school system where you might have to send your kid an hour away to use your voucher. They've got a voucher system in the state of Maine. This was part of the problem. To send them to a school that is fully secular. Some parents argued they should be able to use their vouchers to send their kids to schools that were technically religious. Secular curriculum, so they're teaching math, history, everything else, It's not clerical school or anything like that. It's not Sunday school, but they have a religious bent. That is, it takes place in the old church, and it's called St. Judas Iscariot School. Should they or should they not be able to use that same voucher, due them as taxpayers, taken from taxpayer money, to send their kid to that school? Scotus 6-3 sided with the parents. They do have that right. This was dissented heavily by Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. They're focusing on the latter part of the First Amendment, and that's what was focused on here. The first part insinuates Congress cannot disparage religion. The second part says that it cannot, the first part says it can't establish religion. The government can establish religion effectively. The second part says it cannot ban the free exercise thereof. The majority sided with the latter part of that and said, look, the fact that the school happens to be semi-religious doesn't mean the curriculum's religious. Of course they can use the vouchers. The dissenters found opposite and said, no, of course. The fact that the school happens to be marginally religious is a problem here. You're establishing a religion. Again, if this were a school, or schools rather, that instead of being marginally Christian, were marginally Islamic, or Judaistic, or even pagan, and I say this as a pagan, I'm going to fully admit to this, there wouldn't have been a goddamn case to begin with. Really, it is anti-Christian sentiment. I got to side with the Christians on that particular one. Sebastian Monroe, damn it, I hate it when I'm at work and Styx is on. Well, just get your boss hooked on Clank content. Show your boss what we're made of. Give him a spoon. He'll love it. Get him some coffee. You'll get a promotion maybe. Buraquadamus, Blazing Saddles is the best Western of all time. Good movie. Although Young Frankenstein, I happen to believe, is much funnier. Mel Brooks is a funny motherfucker. Honestly, I liked History of the World Part 1. I thought that was the best one that he ever made. I am in a small minority here. And I didn't like Spaceballs, just to be clear. I thought it was, I don't know. It wasn't even slapstick enough. It was just a bunch of cringe horse shit. Altas85. Styx, I think if you are pro-school choice and religious schools have proper education licenses, they should be available as choice for parents. Absolutely, and that's what Scotus found in a 6-3. Well, I would like to simply defund the public school system and have a non-stop charter system where it's just homeschooling, tutors, and charter schools that are for pay, and you can do vouchers for them. You don't need the government to control them. Well, I would prefer that system. Yeah, this is a good decision. Jacob Skelton, hey Styx, are you open to private business talks? Yeah, you can DM me on Twitter and pitch whatever you want. Absolutely. I'm always in the mood to make money. Certain Mike, what do you think about the Mises Caucus of the Libertarian Party? Yes, they have taken over the Libertarian Party, and I wish them well. They're more sane than the Jorgensens and the Johnsons of the party. So they've got that going for them. I know that's not exactly a high bar to belly up to, but yeah, they're doing a better job already. Far less cringe posting on Twitter, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm a song, just whore schooling. May the Schwartz be with you, says Captain Trips. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't think Spaceballs was that funny. There were some funny moments, but overall, I thought that it was generally boring. Young Frankenstein, it's basically, you don't need a laugh track, certainly, because you'd be roaring with laughter. History of the World Part 1, I thought was Mel Brooks' greatest. Blazing Saddles is a classic. I certainly liked the movie. I also like contemporary stuff, like The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Have you ever seen that one? Maybe more unsung, but watch The Ghost and Mr. Chicken sometime if you want something that's truly funny. That was definitely the golden era of comedy. Yeah, we had comment on Rumble. Just passing through, that Manosphere dude on Twitter is a joke. Yeah, he claims that he has proof that Jesse Lee Peterson is a homosexual predator. When pressed on this, there is no information forthcoming. He promised me a video, a hit piece, talking about how I was completely wrong. I challenge him to own me, and he's online at the time. I mean, I responded 5 fucking minutes later. And I say, okay, you've got objective proof. Jesse Lee Peterson, number one, he's gay. Number two, he's predating on young men. He's out of step with, your conception of religion. Prove it. All I'm asking for is proof. You jumped totally down my fucking throat for simply saying, hey, I want more meat on those bones. Where's the evidence? I've got anecdotes. I got people claiming that he's being a pervert. That's wonderful. Where is their proof? I'm tired of the Me Too horseshit. I'm tired of this third wave bullshit that we keep seeing against content creators. Just give me evidence. Don't even give me proof. Give me evidence. Something beyond an anecdote. Here's a picture of Jesse Lee Peterson. Here's a video of him kissing another dude's thighs or something. Okay, give me something. You haven't. You're giving me a video made by a different party, some Catholic group that naturally is not going to like him anyway because he's a Protestant. It sounds like sectarian horseshit to me. It doesn't sound like anything meaningful. I might be wrong. Maybe he's completely gay. He's flaming gay, and he's constantly lusting after young men's cocks. Give me evidence of this. Otherwise, sit down, shut up, go fuck yourself. That's what I have to say to the manosphere dude. And all of these other morons that are peddling this shit. I've seen this many times before. It's the gay op of all gay ops, effectively, what they're claiming. Mr. Wonderful, thanks for the Scotus ketchup sticks. High Anxiety is my favorite Brooks movie. Classic Harvey Korman and Cloris Leachman. My dad, one time, and I don't know where he bases this off of, maybe personal experience for all I know, said basically Cloris Leachman was fucking everything that moved in Hollywood when she was at her peak. When she was, when she was younger than young Frankenstein, I suppose. Basically, she just basically hopped on every dick she could find with lots of drugs. Based on her acting, I could kind of believe it. By the way, in that movie, Gene Wilder actually dating the girl that he screws on the side of his wife in Young Frankenstein. Can't remember the name of the actress. She died fairly young, unfortunately. I think she had bone cancer, if I remember correctly. And it's sad. She was talented and hilarious during the movie. Her deadpan was pretty great. Put the candle back. If you don't get that line, you are not my friend. Put the candle back. Werewolf. Werewolf. Their wolf. Their castle. I'm going to watch that again. Young Frankenstein is definitely on my top 10 list. I've watched it so many times, I can probably quote most of the movie from memory, just to be clear. Same with Brotherhood of the Wolf, Ninth Gate, and a few others. Yeah, Abby Normal. By the way, that dude used to smoke 4 packs a day and died of a massive heart attack about a month before the final film he was in. Marty Feldman, of course, played Igor in Young Frankenstein. Smoked like a trooper constantly. It was like fucking John Wayne or something. And he died not long before his final film came out. And little known fact, his final film flopped so badly, I think that if he had lived, he would have died of a heart attack seeing the reviews. Westfield 90, Terry Garr, still alive, well and alive. Reality Paranormal for Baby Styx's future homeschooling expenses. Yeah, Marty Feldman was great. He had a whole shit ton lineup of comedy movies ready. He was only in his 46 or something when he dropped dead. He actually had a fairly nice, considering the 80s and like the B comedy movies that were popular at the time. Oh, he would have cleaned up. He would have been an A-lister almost at that point. But no, he had to smoke 4-5 packs of Marlboros a day. Whoops. Matthew Scallion, are you familiar with the 60s musician Arthur Brown? He reminds me of you, lol. No, I never heard of him. Look it up. Baron von Blair. Amsterdam canals in 2005. I got robbed after leaving a bar after dark of 40 euros for bus fare. The little street drug dealer had the point of his knife at my throat. Lol, had 900 hidden on me. Clank. You should have just kicked him in the balls. Usually when someone draws a knife, they're not serious about it. It's when they draw a gun that you got to pony it up. If they draw a knife, you just tell them to fuck themselves. That's what I would do. I'd whip out my own knife and carve them up. Captain Caveman 4201. There is no spoon. I get the Matrix reference. Cindy Jones, you are infinitely watchable. I'm so glad to have found you again. I've been watching bear videos. Makes me realize why we in Texas cling to our guns and our Bibles. Do you mean like actual bears or like, I don't know. Yeah, you need to definitely need to cling to your guns if there are bears around. There was one on the property in Rutland when I was there last. It was a juvenile, but by now it might be 400 pounds. So, yeah, no shit. I'm going to buy more guns when I get back if I know that's in the neighborhood. Bears and Warwicks do not get well together. The Warwick family crest actually is a bear tied to the ragged staff by a chain. There's a tale about Morvidus, the original Warwick, in lineage-wise, that he beat the shit out of a bear with basically a tree trunk. I've actually got one at home, which is kind of ironic because when I carved it out, I didn't know about this tale. Beat it over the head and then chained it up. And that's basically where Warwicks come from. If you look at dream interpretation and the meaning of the bear, then it makes sense. It's interesting, all the occult relevancy. Mr. Wonderful, while we are on comedy, Spike Milligan's tombstone reads, I told you I was sick, and Peter Sellers had In the Mood played at his funeral. Sellers is cool. The Pink Panther, I believe. Screw bears, they're assholes, says Vivi. No, I don't hate bears. I just don't want them to get near me. And I'll air them out if they do. There are no bears in this country, so, you can walk around and you don't have to worry. Wasabi, hey, Sticks, have you checked out Working Dragon Mystic yet? Finally managed to catch the stream. No, I haven't, actually. Gilda Radner died of ovarian cancer. Yeah, which actress was it? Just a second here. Let me fucking fact check myself. Get a couple minutes left. Young Frankenstein. Definitely watch The Young Frankenstein. Yeah, which it's not Cloris Leachman. No, it wasn't Terry Garr. Which one was I thinking of? One of these people died really young. I think it was Madeline Kahn. I'm even thinking of a different movie. It all runs together. I got a big problem. How did she die? Yeah, ovarian cancer for Madeline Kahn. Peter Bogdanovich. The Bogdanovs. Oh, no. They're everywhere. We made a call. All right, here. Fair Frozen 55. Styx' ancestor back in the day. Watch out, I'm about to morb. No, Morvidus, not Morbidus. Transylvania 90. Regarding Kaliningrad, it was never Polish. It used to be German East Prussia, and the inhabitants were raped and butchered by the Soviets in 1945. Half the territory went to Poland and half to Russia. Yeah, well, Russia doesn't need it. It's basically just a little tiny chunk of nothing. They should just give it back to the Polish. Then those people get raped by the Polish troops, probably. But Josh Eternal, are you still getting royalties from Grand Illusion? I don't know what you're referring to. Is that a Styx joke, like the band? It's possible. Westfield 90, if you're rich, then never have kids. They will always turn out spoiled and embarrass you. Prince Harry and now Elon's kid. No, it's just that if you have a kid and you have a rich couple who's stupid, they put that kid in the limelight. They want to show him off and shit. Oh, look how wonderful little Muffy is. And then they get screwed up and you wonder why. I'm going to keep my kid away from the internet as long as possible. Her job when she's a kid is to make mud pies and look at snails and grow flowers and stuff like that and be a kid. That's what I want, because I remember how great it was before the internet. I know I owe my entire livelihood to the internet, but kids do not need to be At 9 years old, they don't need to be making gymnastics videos on TikTok. It's a waste of goddamn time. And then when they're older, they'll get the mystique of the internet too, because, they weren't raised with it from day one. Gorgeous Mayhem. Can't one be pro-choice and for overturning Roe? Yes, they can. Doesn't this bolster freedom and liberty by decentralization? By the way, I am moderate on the issue. Yeah, I'm pro-choice, and I admit, and I've admitted this for months now, Roe v. Wade is legally indefensible. That's the problem. I support a woman's right to choose. I believe it's not pragmatic to attempt to end that. Women were choosing even when abortion was illegal prior to Roe v. Wade. It's not going to save any lives. That being said, there is also the Roberts cop-out, which was, hey, we uphold Roe, but we also uphold the Mississippi decision. It's kicking the can. It won't really solve anything. The problem is, even if you believe in it morally, it doesn't really have any teeth, because then another state says, okay, well, a 3-month ban, or what was it, an 8-week ban rather, is okay. What about a 6-week ban? Well, we'll impose that. And then SCOTUS has to decide it again. And that's where the non-pragmatism of that middle road goes. Don't send any more super chats. This is meant to be a little bit of a short stream because, again, we didn't get Roe, we didn't get concealed carry, we didn't get EPA. We got one of the main decisions. I'll recap it in a minute, but first I'll get to the last super chats. Please don't send any more. Bartimeus 1. Hey, Sticks, I'm 31 today. I've been spending way more time outside. Up here in Canada, it's easy to let Trudeau and his clowns get you angry, but a simple walk outside can make you feel better. Until a moose decides to gore you to death. Until you realize your maple syrup is nothing compared to Vermont maple syrup. I kid. Well, not on the maple syrup, but I hope you don't get gored by a moose anyway. Josh Eternal, Axel is the greatest rock singer of all time. That's like your opinion, man. Transylvania 90, would you expect shills in the GOP to sabotage their own current advantage for the midterms as the system doesn't want one party to be too advantaged? Possibly. That's possible. Some people seem to think that the Rumble stream has gone down. It wouldn't surprise me if that was actually the case. We'll check a second. That'd be funny. No, we're still live on Rumble. And we got about 400 people watching, actually. I don't understand what's happening here. Spaceballs was hilarious, says Texas Toasted. I disagree. I think it was one of the most boring comedies I've seen. There's a movie that I can't even repeat the name of on a YouTube or Twitch stream called Gay N-Words from Outer Space. You should watch that instead. That's much more funny. Cheese. New York has the best maple syrup. New York doesn't even have the best New Yorkers. Anyway, just a quick recap before I go off here. We do have a Supreme Court decision. This is Carson versus, Makin. And it is important. It's the fourth most important decision that we're waiting for. My hope is on Thursday we'll get one or more of the other majors, concealed carry, EPA, or Roe v. Wade. Roe will probably come the next week. We might get concealed carry and or EPA in 2 days. That's my hope. I will live stream if that happens. I'm live streaming here, even though it's truncated just for the main decision, and this was the fourth most important. And effectively what it says is that the second part of the First Amendment allows for technically religious schools to gain vouchers from parents. They can use their vouchers there, even though they're technically religious, so long as the curriculum itself is secular. This is a huge boon to religious liberty in the United States, if you believe in that premise. The dissent focused on exactly the reason why I didn't even make a prediction with regards to this decision. They focused on the prior part, which says that Congress can't favor or establish a religion. And the idea being, well, this effectively does that. You're giving taxpayer money to a religious school. What it was generally found in this decision, and it was 6-3, so it wasn't, necessarily a close split, was effectively that no, it doesn't violate the right of religious freedom. It would violate that if you were preventing the money from going to these schools, because the fact that the people that are religious that are running the school doesn't make any difference. It doesn't have any impact on the curriculum. It's only the curriculum that matters. This will probably be used as a precedent in future cases around the United States. it is a significant decision. In fact, as far as state law goes, this may be cited in more cases over the next 10, 20 years than Roe v. Wade. And people won't even talk about that. Very interesting. So yeah, I think that I'll go off here. Interesting live stream. My hope is to go live Thursday. I expect at least one more major decision then. It would be terrible. The worst case scenario, we don't get any majors on Thursday, so I don't stream. And then we get all three, Roe v. Wade, concealed carry, and the EPA decision on the same fucking day, maybe next Monday. If that happens, all hell breaks loose. I may end up having to stream for 4 or 5 hours. So I'm going to have to lock myself down here and have like a goddamn gallon of lime water or something by my side. It's going to be difficult. Joe56 there. TMZ is reporting comedian Larry the Cable Guy has died. Who gives a shit about the redneck humor side of things? Never liked it to begin with. Good riddance if he's dead. That's about all.